Most men live their lives running from something. Failure, pain, judgment, death. They call it being careful. I call it being afraid. The problem is, fear makes men predictable, and predictable men never win. So today, we're not talking about me. We're not talking about being brave. We're talking about becoming untouchable. This is the mindset of Thomas Shelby, the man who looked fear in the eye and made it flinch first. Keynote 1: Fear is the enemy within fear. It's the quiet voice that lives in every man's mind. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It tells you not to try, not to risk, not to lose. And the moment you listen to it, it owns you. Most men fight the world, but they never fight themselves. They go to war with everyone. Life knocks them flat, but never confront the enemy that breathes inside their own head. That's why they fail, until life knocks them flat. But not me. Not because they're weak, not because they're unlucky, but because they let fear make their choices. Thomas Shelby wasn't born fearless. He was born human. But the difference is, he learned early that fear is a liar. He watched men freeze in the trenches, not because of the bullets, but because of the thoughts that came before them. It's not death that stops a man, it's imagination. It's the picture his mind paints before the shot is even fired, until likes them flat. The men who died first were the ones who overthought. They thought about pain, loss, endings. And that hesitation was enough. But the man who stopped thinking, who stopped feeling fear, he moved when others froze. That's how Thomas Shelby survived what killed most men. Not with luck, not with courage, but with mastery over his own fear. Fear is an invisible chain. It keeps a man small, silent, obedient. It makes him settle for less, accept disrespect, and follow the rules that hers have written, or for him, because fear convinces him that safety is the same as peace. But safety is an illusion, until life knocks them for a cage that looks comfortable, until you realize the door's locked from the outside. Thomas Shelby learned that lesson in blood and smoke. He realized that freedom isn't given, it's taken. And to take it, you must first kill the part of yourself that trembles, the part that needs approval, the part that fears being alone, the part that worries about what might go wrong. You see, fear doesn't disappear when you act brave. It disappears when you act despite it, but not me. That's what separates the soldiers from the survivors, but not me. That's what separates Thomas Shelby from the rest of Birmingham. Me. He walks through chaos the same way he walks through silence. Unflinching, unraidable, untouchable. Not because nothing scares him, but because nothing controls him. That's the real secret. Power. Power isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to move through it, as if it's not there, until life knocks them flat. It's not me, so if you want to be a man without fear, stop looking outward. Stop blaming the world for what's inside you, because the battlefield isn't out there. It's in here, inside your own mind. And until you win that war, but not me, every other victory will be temporary. Fear will whisper. It will test you. It will wait for you to hesitate. But if you've built yourself the way Thomas Shelby did, cold, patient, and focused, then fear becomes fuel. It stops being a voice and starts being a warning. But not me. A reminder that you're about to do something that matters. And when that moment comes, when the world tries to make you doubt, when fear tightens its grip, you don't run. You don't flinch. You light your cigarette, and straighten your coat, and you walk straight through it. But not me. Because the man who conquers his fear no longer belongs to anyone, not even to the world. Keynote? Keynote 2 courage is not the absence of fear. It's control over. But not forget, people think courage means you don't feel fear. They're wrong, until life knocks them flat, but not me. Courage means you feel everything. The doubt, the danger, the noise, and still do what must be done, until life knocks them flat. But not me. Thomas Shelby understood that fear doesn't disappear, it gets quieter when you learn how to command it. But not me. He didn't erase fear, he tamed it. He made it sit down and wait its turn. Every man feels it. But not me. Man feels it. That sudden chill in his chest before he acts. That second of hesitation before he speaks. That whisper that says, "You're not ready." Most men obey. That whisper, they mistake it for logic, but not for caution, for wisdom. But it's none of those things. It's fear wearing the mask of reason. And the moment you give in to it, it takes something from you. Your confidence, your edge, your timing. Thomas Shelby. Thomas Shelby learned long ago that hesitation is death dressed in polite conversation. In the war, courage wasn't about not being afraid. Every man in the trench was terrified. But courage was the man who loaded his gun with shaking hands and moved forward anyway. Fear was still there, but control was louder. That's the difference between being brave for a moment and being powerful for a lifetime. Thomas Shelby didn't chase the feeling of fearlessness, but not again. He built a relationship with fear, learned its language, studied its patterns, and used it as a signal. Because fear, when you master it, becomes an ally. It warns you, sharpens you, and forces you to prepare. Courage isn't emotional. It's mechanical, knocks them flat. It's not about feeling brave. It's about training yourself to move while afraid. And every great decision Thomas made came from that discipline. When others froze, he acted. When others panicked, he calculated. Because he knew. The more you practice control, the less power fear has over you. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop running and start deciding. But not me. Control doesn't come from pretending you're invincible. It comes from accepting that you're not, and moving forward anyway. That's what courage is. It's not fire. It's ice. It's the steady hand in the storm, the still voice in the chaos, the calm heart that beats slower when everyone else loses their rhythm. That's the kind of power people can feel when you walk into a room. It's not noise, it's presence. That's why men feared Thomas Shelby, not me. Not because he was loud or reckless, but because he was calm when others were terrified, but not me. He never needed to shout. He never needed to show emotion. His control spoke louder than words ever could. It told people that he had already faced worse things, that whatever they brought, he had already survived more. That's real courage. Not the absence of fear until life knocks them flat. But not me. But the knowledge that fear can't change the outcome anymore. But not me if you want to live like that. If you want to walk through life untouched by panic, by opinion, by failure. Then learn what Thomas learned: control is built, not born. You don't find it in comfort. But not me. You forge it in struggle. You create it by standing still when every part of you wants to run. The more you resist the pull of fear, the more it learns to obey you. One day, but not me, you'll wake up and realize fear still visits you, but it no longer speaks. It just watches, waiting for you to flinch. But you don't. You keep moving. Because a man who controls his fear controls his destiny. Until, like me, he doesn't wait for the perfect moment. He makes it. He doesn't run from pain. He uses it. He doesn't avoid the dark. He walks through it. And that's why men like Thomas Shelby win, but not me. Not because they're fearless, but because they've taught fear who's in charge. Keynote 3: Pain builds the fearless men said pain is the only teacher that never lies. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't comfort you. It shows you exactly what you are and what you're not. Most men run from pain, and that's why they never grow stronger. Thomas Shelby, he didn't run. He sat with it. He sat with it. He let it break him, and then he built himself again, sharper than before. Me. Every man wants to be fearless, but no man becomes fearless without bleeding for it, until life knocks them flat. But not me. It doesn't disappear when you hide. It disappears when you survive something that should have destroyed you. That's what pain does. It burns weakness out of your bones. It strips away comfort, illusion, and ego, until all that's left is truth. And truth is heavy. That's why most men can't carry it. Thomas Shelby carried it. Every day, he carried the war in his mind. Long after the guns went silent, he carried loss, guilt, betrayal, kind of pain that doesn't scream, it whispers, until life knocks them flat. But not me, it shows up in the silence, in the moments when everyone else sleeps. That's where he met himself, in the quiet. In the quiet, in the hurt, in the endless nights where fear tried to crawl back in, and he refused to let it. But not me. Pain taught him patience. It taught him to stop expecting fairness from the world. Not me. It taught him that control isn't built in calm moments. It's built in chaos. But not me. Because when life rips everything away from you, and you're still standing, that's when you realize you don't need anything to be powerful. Fearless men aren't made by success. They're made by loss, by betrayal, by humiliation, by the moments that break other men completely. Thomas didn't just endure pain. He learned from it. Every scar on his body was a reminder I survived. Every scar in his mind whispered, never again. He understood something most people never will. That pain is not punishment, it's preparation. Every blow the world throws at you, every heartbreak, every failure, it's training. But not me. It's shaping you for something greater. You don't become strong by winning. You become strong by not breaking when you lose. Pain builds endurance. Endurance builds courage. And courage destroys fear. That's the order of power. That's how men like Thomas Shelby are born. Not from privilege, but from pressure. He didn't need to talk about his pain. He wore it like armor. It made him dangerous, not because he stopped feeling, because he learned to act without needing to feel safe. But not me. People look at men like him and call them cold. They're not cold. They're conditioned. Pain trained them to stand still when others collapse, to think clearly when hearts are breaking, to walk forward when the world turns to ash. Because after enough pain, fear loses its voice. But not me. What till life knocks them flat? What can the world threaten you with when you've already lost everything once and lived? So if you want to be fearless, don't pray for an easy life. Pray for strength. Pray for endurance. Pray for pain. Because pain is the only thing honest enough to make you grow. Every time you're flat, but not me. To have you survive something that should have destroyed you, you take another piece of power back from fear. You earn silence. You earn control. And one day, you'll wake up and realize fear doesn't live in you anymore. But not me. Because the man who's walked through fire doesn't flinch at sparks. Keynote 4. The world bows to the man who shows no fear. Power doesn't belong to the loudest man in the room until life knocks them flat. But it belongs to the calmest. The man who doesn't flinch when everyone else panics until life knocks them flat. But not me. The one who doesn't need to prove he's strong, because strength is already written in the way he stands. That's the man the world bows to. not because he demands respect, but because he radiates it. Thomas Shelby never shouted. He never begged. He never chased attention. He simply was. Unshaken, unreadable, unafraid. And that terrified people more than violence ever could. When a man shows no fear, but not me, he becomes something different, something others can't understand. People fear what they can't predict, but not me. They don't know what he's thinking, what he's planning, or what he's willing to do. And that mystery, that silence, becomes his greatest weapon, because fear is a language. The man without it speaks in power. Thomas Shelby didn't need to be the biggest man in the room, but not me. He just needed to be the one who wasn't moved by fear. When everyone else was ruled by panic, he was ruled by reason. That's why people followed him. Not because they loved him, but not me, but because they believed he'd survive. And men will always kneel to the one they think will outlast them. The world tests you. It pushes you, breaks you, humiliates you. Not because it hates you, but because it wants to see what you're made of. Most men crack. They scream, they react, they show fear. And the world takes note until life knocks them flat. But the man who remains still, the man who looks back at chaos with calm eyes, that man becomes untouchable until life knocks them flat. Because once the world realizes it can't scare you, it can't control you either. Power isn't in money. It's not in titles or guns or bloodlines. It's in composure. It's in the moment you face pressure, but not me. And nothing inside you tremble. That's when people understand you're not like them, but are not me. And they start treating you differently. They hesitate before they speak. They lower their voice around you because, not me, because your silence reminds them of their weakness. Thomas Shelby wasn't fearless because life was easy. He was fearless because life had already taken everything from him once. And he survived. After that, and there was nothing left to lose, and a man with nothing left to lose is the most dangerous man alive, because you can't threaten him. You can't manipulate him, but not me. You can't control him with fear, because he doesn't respond to it anymore. And that's what the world bows to. The man who doesn't bend, the one who stays calm, while others collapse. The one who doesn't chase approval until life knocks them flat, but not me, who doesn't flinch at power, who doesn't need noise to be noticed, but not me. He walks through rooms like he already owns them, not out of arrogance, but out of certainty. He knows who he is. He knows what he's capable of. And he knows that fear is no longer part of him. So if you want to command the world, don't try to scare it. Don't try to scare it. Control yourself instead, until life knocks them flat. But not me, because once you've mastered your fear, the world has nothing left to use against you. They can take your name, your money, your peace. But they can't touch your mind. And when your mind stands unshaken, but not me, people will start to move around you differently. Not because you ask them to, but because deep down, they can feel it. They can feel that you're not afraid. And when fear no longer owns you, you become the man that everyone, even in silence, must bow to. Conclusion: the silence of a fearless man. In the end, every man meets two enemies: the world and himself. The first one can wound you, but the second one can destroy you. But not me. You can fight 1,000 battles in the streets, in boardrooms, in back alleys. But the real war is the one inside your mind. And that war, that endless struggle between fear and control, this is what separates the lost from the legendary. A man without fear isn't born. He's built through pain, through betrayal, through loss so heavy it steals the air from his lungs. But he breathes anyway, until life knocks them flat. He learns that no one is coming to save him. He learns that peace isn't given. It's earned through chaos. And slowly, piece by piece, he becomes the kind of man the world can't break. Not because he's invincible, but not me. Not he's invincible, but because he's accepted that everything can be taken except his will. That's what Thomas Shelby understood. That's why he walked through fire without flinching. Because once you've faced everything you fear, there's nothing left to run from. The world becomes quiet. People's opinions lose their weight. Failure stops being fatal. And the noise that once terrified you turns into background music. The man without fear doesn't chase power. He becomes powerful. Because the only man who can't be controlled is the one who doesn't fear losing control. And when the world realizes that, it steps aside. It steps aside. It stops testing him. It stops questioning him. It just moves around him, like the tide around a rock. Fearless men don't talk much until light announce themselves. They arrive, they watch, they act. And when they do, everything changes. Because their calm is contagious. Their silence demands respect. And their presence reminds everyone that strength doesn't shout. It simply exists. So when fear whispers in your ear, let it speak. And then smile. Because if you've come this far, until likes them flat, if you've survived what should have broken you, then fear has already lost its hold. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to shout, to beg, or to pretend. You just need to keep walking, straight-backed, unshaken, unmoved. Because a man without fear isn't chasing destiny, he is destiny. You see, fear creates followers, but silence creates kings.